Living with migraine means fighting two battles every day of your life: the battle to function and feel better, and the battle to be heard, seen, and understood. I'm Danielle Vinci. Welcome to the Migraine Circle podcast by CEFALY, the podcast that gives you expert insights and practical tools to help you manage migraine and get back to life. Today, we're chatting with Giuls, who you may know from TikTok as Giuls and Gemma, Gemma being her amazing service dog. Giuls will be sharing her experiences managing chronic migraine and POTS, two conditions that often occur together. Giuls, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I know your story has resonated with so many people, so let's start at the beginning. Can you describe and talk about when you first were diagnosed with chronic migraine?
I first got diagnosed with chronic migraine in March of 2022. I was diagnosed with migraine before that, but the neurologist I was seeing wasn't really great or helpful. So it wasn't until I finally saw a new doctor that they were like, "You have chronic migraine and this is a problem."
Yeah. I know everyone's experience with their journey through migraine is a little different. How can you explain yours to someone who's never had it or just is starting their journey?
So at the beginning, I was actually having hemiplegic migraines a lot, which to me are very scary. Half my face gets droopy. It almost looks like you're having a stroke. I'm very lucky that those do not happen very often anymore, maybe once a year. But my typical migraines that I do have all the time, I get pain, sensitivity to light, noise, smells. It's predominantly like a throbbing, pulsating pain around my whole head. I get a lot of pressure behind my eyes, nausea, neck pain, all the fun stuff, ringing in your ears. And then with the POTS too, I do get very lightheaded and dizzy, and sometimes it's hard to tell, is this a POTS flare or is this part of my migraine? And then every once in a while I get rashes on my face.
Yeah, so helpful to hear you put it into words. I think a lot of people just in their beginning of journey is trying to figure out what all these symptoms really mean. And I know you mentioned trying to differentiate what is POTS and what is like a migraine attack coming.
Mhm.
Can you explain what it's like between the two?
Yeah, so I'll be honest, I'm still figuring it out. Every episode and migraine is a little bit different. So with POTS, I don't know how much people know about POTS, but it has to do with your blood pressure and your heart rate not regulating properly, and it can make you really dizzy. Some people faint, not everyone faints. That is a symptom that I have. Blurry vision, fatigue, but there's so much overlap in the symptoms that it took me a while. It took me, now we're what, 3 years into it, and I'm finally okay, this is more of a POTS flare, and this is distinctively a migraine, and this is maybe a combination of the two of them hitting me at the same time. And they can trigger each other too. So for instance, if you're dehydrated from having a migraine and you're not drinking enough water, that can cause me to have a POTS flare, make my POTS symptoms worse because I'm dehydrated, and vice versa. So it's really difficult to manage the two combined, but that's why it's so important to have a good team of doctors who understand how they are interconnected, and find ways to have medications that help one without aggravating the other.
Yeah, it's wild how everything is interconnected. It must be so tough trying to figure out what's triggering and what's coming.
Mhm.
And I know you mentioned earlier about your neurologist. Have you found a good doctor now?
Really great one in Philadelphia. But then I recently moved, well, not recently, like 3 years ago, I moved back to New Jersey, where I'm from. And so I still commute to Philly to go see them because they helped me so much. And now that I've been living with migraine longer, I kind of know what helps. We haven't been able to eliminate it, but I'm now more able to manage it. So my appointments are more spread out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's dedication. It's
Yeah.
glad that you found someone. I would probably do the same thing. I mean, New Jersey to Philly's not horrible, but not as
Not
easy.
around.
Yeah, it's not around the corner. I'm sure that has to be, but yeah, it's glad you found one that you like now.
Yeah.
What's your daily routine look like with POTS and chronic migraine?
It depends. Lately, it's been chaotic. I've been having a lot of sleep disturbances lately, so I've been waking up really late, which is not great. But Normally, I wake up, I do like a little morning meditation. I find that that really helps me like manage my stress and just kind of start the day off right. Um, I start off in the morning with electrolyte drinks, have like because hydration is so crucial. Again, I really try to be good about my sleep schedule. Lately, it's not been super great, but I know that that is something that helps me keep my body in check. Also, every day I am checking the barometric pressure. Not that that, actually helps, but like directly, but it helps me understand like the weather changes. And now that I've been tracking it for so long, I know that like a really low pressure day is most likely going to give me a migraine so that I'm able to do things ahead of time, like using my CEFALY as soon as I start to notice that the pressure is dropping. I do use my CEFALY almost every single day. I'm not perfect, no one is, but I use it almost every day, especially in the mornings. I try to do like the prevent mode if I don't actively have a migraine or the acute mode when I do. And then lately I started using like light therapy patches, but I'm still very new with those. So I don't want to like say that those are distinctively helping yet, but I am doing a little experiment and I do think that they're helping a little bit.
What are those light therapy patches?
Yeah, I don't totally understand them to be honest, but they're these little patches. I wear them on the back of my neck, and it's supposed to be similar to like red light therapy, but it's that it's taking your body's heat and sort of like tricking your body into doing what it would do with something like a red light. So I'm still in the works of understanding it. I didn't want to like look too much into it and then my, experience be clouded with it, but then I feel like I'm not able to talk about it enough because I didn't do a ton of research into explaining it. But I've been using them for like 40 days now, and I definitely have noticed that like certain days when I would normally wake up with a migraine, like I'm not getting it until later in the day. So I think it's kind of helping the threshold a little bit.
That's so cool. You're gonna have to send me the link on
Yeah,
those.
I'll send you information.
Those now. What else is in your migraine toolkit? I think it's always helpful for migraine patients to share what's in their
Absolutely.
toolkit. What essentials do you always keep on hand? What's your favorite tools?
My CEFALY is always with me, no matter where I go. Now these light patches I've been using every day. I always keep Drip Drop on me. That's my preferred electrolyte drink, as well as potassium fast chews. I don't know if you've seen them. They're like a chewable sodium and potassium. They're like a sub brand of Salt Stick, which was meant for like athletes, but they found out that all these people with POTS were taking them all the time because we needed the sodium and potassium. So they made like a sub brand just for people with those chronic illnesses. So I always have those on me. I have ice caps, heating pads, all of that around me. I like to have a really big water bottle whenever I have a migraine. That way I don't have to like keep getting up, but I can make sure that I'm staying hydrated. And then I do have a bunch of medications. But I am like trying to get pregnant, and they told me that I wouldn't be able to take those medications when I'm pregnant. So I've been trying to really like steer clear of them because I want to figure out how to manage my migraine without them before I get pregnant. So that's why using my CEFALY is like my main go-to.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a whole
It's a
separate
whole
journey.
separate mess.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm sure it can't be easy. How did you first find out about Cephaly?
I found out about CEFALY through social media, but to be honest, I kept seeing videos for a while, like a few months. And I was really hesitant at first. Like, it is an investment up front. And I was like, there's just no way this is going to help me. I get migraines almost every single day. Like, if medicine's not helping, how is this little device going to help? But after a while, I just finally like decided to give in. And I knew immediately that this thing was going to change my life, which is one of the reasons that I try to make videos about it all the time now, because I'm like, it took me months of seeing like the same few people like talk about it all the time that I'm like, now I can be that person and hopefully, encourage someone else to try it, because it took me a year and a half of chronic migraine before I tried it. And within one session, I was hooked.
Yeah, what kind of difference did you notice when you started using it?
Um, it has like really, let me think about how to say this. It reduces the pain for me like almost instantly within using, or like within a few minutes. I shouldn't say instantly, but within the first few minutes of using it, I can definitely notice a reduction in my pain levels. Sometimes it does completely abort the migraine, and I love when that happens, but for me, that's not an every time thing. But just the relief of the pain makes such a difference in my life. And like even if I have to use it a few times that day, if it's a really bad migraine, I'm like, well, that's so much better than taking the medications that I needed to take that would have given me like terrible side effects, or, then I get a rebound migraine and then I can't take the medicine. Like, there's just so many things. But yeah, for me, the reduction in pain is just like incredible. I take it anywhere I go. Like, I can go to social events now because of Cephaly. I'll take it, I'll do a session on the car ride there, and then I'll know that I'm able to do a session on the car ride home, and that can really help me like get through events. And my family too is also become obsessed with Cephaly. They don't get migraines as frequently as I do, but they do have issues with migraine. And anytime that they have one, they're like coming over and being like, "Can I borrow your little device thing? Like, can I use that?" And there was one time there was a really bad storm, and like five or six of us all had a migraine at the same time, and there was literally a fight in our house over who got to use it. So
Out of a hat.
yeah, we all had to take turns, and I mean, I got it first because I was like, "This is mine."
Yeah.
You guys can wait your turn. But no,
Yeah.
everyone in my family loves it, and I love that even though they get them like very infrequently, as soon as they get one, their go-to is to ask me to use it.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. How did you work it into your routine? Was it easy to figure out at first or?
Yeah, I had a Cephaly coach call when I first got it, and they helped me learn how to use it. I mean, all the directions were pretty clear too, but it was nice to have that like one-on-one call. Um and it was really easy. At first it was a little hard to get myself to just like lay down for like an hour or whatever it was, but I'm like, you need to lay down anyway. Just do it. Like, you need to calm down and just like lay there and, accept that you have a migraine right now. But no, it is just like, it was really easy to adjust to like incorporating it. And now it's like, again, part of my daily routine. Like, I wake up and I do it.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I think a lot of people wonder if it's hard to get started with Cephaly, so that's really insightful. I know you have a lot of online videos about barometric pressure,
Yes.
which I love. Can you tell us a little about that and how the pressure affects your migraine pattern?
Yes. So this was something that I started tracking really early on from like one of the apps that I was using to track my migraine, actually kind of brought it to my attention. And then when my neurologist was giving me medications, I was like looking into them, and one of them was specifically for barometric pressure migraines. And I asked them, I was like, "Is this what you think is causing it?" And they're like, "Yeah, you seem to have a lot of like weather related, like really intense episodes." And so I started tracking it more. I started buying barometers, keeping track of it in my own house. I find that big shifts in the pressure and really low pressure trigger migraines for me. And that's kind of the message I try to get across in videos when I'm making them. And I try to make them every day because for me, it's like not a hobby anymore. It's like part of tracking my migraines and managing them. And I think that now I'm able to help a lot of people, whether they're seeing my video for the first time and realizing, like, oh, this is maybe something that impacts me, or the people who tune in every day because they live in the area or whatever it is. And for whatever reason, don't want their own barometer yet, but we'll get there. And so they check in to see what the barometric pressure is like around here to make sense of their own symptoms.
Yeah. And since weather is an avoidable change, what do you do to manage those pressure triggered migraine attacks or pops?
Um, Cephaly is definitely my biggest go-to to measure or to fight against the barometric pressure migraines. And things, like staying hydrated, dimming the lights, going in a dark room, things like that. But being able to see the barometric pressure is like getting lower or that it's already low or whatever the case is really, really helps me plan. And then, also I can then look up on the internet, like, oh, is there a storm coming? What is it? And then I can kind of tell, like, oh, the pressure is probably going to stay very low. I need to, put in place like a rest plan, or like this might be impacting me for a few days. Because again, like the Cephaly helps me so much reduce the pain, but it doesn't always just like get rid of it. And especially when there's such a bad storm, it's just like you're having a migraine for a few days.
Yeah,
I'm just glad I can get relief from it during
yeah, you
it.
can't avoid it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love what you mentioned, a rest plan.
Yeah.
Love that. Is that
Yeah.
something you share with your family? Like, hey, rest plan
Yeah,
level
I'll tell them, I'm like, look at the pressure, look at it, this is what we're working with. And then I'll say, like, and I looked up the weather too, when we're supposed to be getting a storm on Friday or whatever it is. And I feel like this is going to impact me for a few days. So I'm going to start taking it easy. My husband might take over certain tasks that are usually mine, things like that. And I just kind of take it easy.
Yeah, that's so cool. I'm definitely going to implement that in my house, a rest plan.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah, definitely coining that.
Yes.
Yes. That's so interesting. I don't think a lot of people realize how much weather can impact things like POTS and migraines. So,
Mm,
your page I think is really important. And yeah, it's
I'm so
definitely
glad.
making sure everyone follows.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little about Prodome. What are your earliest warning signs for you? How do you experience it?
I'll get like very subtle changes at first, like sensitivity to light or sound. Sometimes I get like mild like visual disturbances, or even I'll just like find myself like yawning a lot or like having bad brain fog, and I'm like, why is this? Like, I'm fully rested, like what's going on? And then I'm like, okay, this is probably a migraine starting. Which, like, as soon as I feel any of those symptoms, I immediately like grab my CEFALY and start using that. And a lot of times I can kind of stop the migraine like in its tracks from getting worse. Um, Again, like dimming lights, things like that are big things that I do because those beginning prodromes things are so like sensory for me. And then of course, like, lots of hydration.
Yeah, that's such a smart strategy to be able to catch it early. That helps a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah, the yawning one always gets me.
Yeah,
That's
I'll be
like
like,
the
why
most,
am I yawning? Like, what is going on? And I'm like not a person who yawns like
yeah,
general.
yeah. Like check my sleep app. I'm like, I slept last
Yeah,
night.
I'm like, I'm good. Why am I yawning?
It's so important to know those signs too, and take action.
Absolutely.
So one of my favorite things is your adorable service dog named Gemma. Tell me
Yes.
about her. How'd you get her? What is she?
She is the best. I got Gemma peak COVID. It was like June of 2020, I got her. And so we were stuck home a lot. And my POTS was really bad at this time. I was passing out a lot because it wasn't under any sort of control yet. I couldn't go to the doctor. Everything was shut down. But I started noticing she would get like really anxious and just sort of start like kind of freaking out. And then I would pass out. And so I noticed that she was instinctually like picking up on something. I wasn't sure what. So I started doing research. I talked to trainers. I took some courses. And then that's when I learned about alert dogs more and how they could be trained. So she did have a little bit of a leg up because she was already like naturally doing it. We just needed to train it more to be formal. So I did a lot of that training myself. Like, again, I worked with trainers and took courses and read books and things like that. But all the training was like at home. I did it all at home myself. They would teach me the exercises and we would be doing them. And then it was a lot of hands-on work, but after a while, she was just like picking it up perfectly. There was no more of the like super anxiety when I was going to pass out. It was more like now she knew what to do and how to react properly. And so for me, it really helps because she'll let me know like before I'm going to pass out so that I can like sit down or be somewhere safe so I don't like fall and hurt myself. Luckily my POTS is a little bit more under control now. I'm not like passing out all the time, but I never know when it's going to happen. And she is so crucial when it does.
Yeah, that's incredible how much they can pick up on and that she was instinctively already doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt so bad at first because she was getting so anxious. And that was really, I was like, I need to figure this out because she doesn't deserve to be like freaking out like that. But now she's like, well, they smell it. And so she's like, oh, I smell it. Like, time for a party because that's kind of what we trained her to do. It's like you get rewarded when you tell me that you smell it.
Yeah, yeah. She's probably like excited when you're
Yeah, she's like, great. I'm like, no, no, no.
yeah, you're supposed to be here to help me, not get treats.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's so awesome. Well, um, I'm sure she's very comforting too, and it helps with not only
Absolutely.
letting you know, but a little bit of the anxiety that comes with that feeling.
Yeah. It's nice to know I'm not ever like alone
Yeah.
when something happens and that she could go get help if needed, even if that's just like barking her head off until someone hears her or like whatever the situation is.
Yeah. I love that. Gemma.
She's
I,
the best.
I want to meet her. You're gonna
Yeah,
have to come to New Jersey and meet Gemma.
we'd love that.
Yeah. What was your biggest win in managing chronic migraine? What was like your turning point where things really started to improve for you?
Honestly, once I got CEFALY, so that was like a year and a half, maybe a little bit more into being diagnosed with chronic migraine, is when I first tried CEFALY. And again, like right when I knew it in that first session, I was like, this thing's gonna change my life. Which I always tell people, like, you guys have a 90-day money back guarantee. I'm like, if you have chronic migraine, you're gonna get a few migraines within those 90 days, and you're gonna know if it works or not. And if not, then return it. But like for me, that first week, I was like, this is a game changer for me. This is gonna change my life. This was even before I was trying to get pregnant, but I already had known that like I'm not going to be able to take all these medications. So for me, I was like, this is great. Let me try to not take some of these meds and just try this for a little bit. And it was working so well that I was like, this is great. I don't have to deal with those like terrible side effects anymore. Well, on occasion, but not as my like go-to.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. You talked a lot about how Cephali brought you that pain relief, but it really sounds like it also brought you some like emotional comfort too.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially like going out in public and things like that. Now, like that was like a no-go for me before. And now like we were at an engagement party the other day. I did my Cephali session on the way there. While we were there, I started to feel my migraine coming on because it was a loud place and there was a lot going on, but I was like, okay, you can power through this because as soon as you get in the car, you get to put that thing back on. So I was able to like make it through more of the event than I otherwise would have been able to and really like just rely on myself fully.
Yeah, it's such an emotional roller coaster, so much more than
Absolutely.
just pain and a headache with migraine. What's the one thing you wish someone had told you when you first started out that you'd like to let someone just starting out themselves?
Honestly, not to sound like a broken record, but it would be to look into Cephaly because it wasn't even something that my doctors mentioned. Again, like I found out from social media and I brought it up to my doctors who were then like, oh yeah, I've heard people use that and like it or blah, blah, blah. Or like, oh, I haven't heard of that device, but I heard about this other one that's like, things like that. So they were interested, but even my doctors didn't know a lot about it at the time. I mean, this is years ago, so hopefully they know a lot more now. But um that was like the biggest thing. So I was like, your doctors or whoever you're talking to doesn't have all of the answers. They don't know everything that exists, especially like new technology and stuff like that. So you can't just rely on them for everything. Like they're not going to tell you everything. And going on social media, watching other people's videos, learning about migraine. I mean, even when I first got migraine, I didn't, besides the hemiplegic ones. Those I knew were a problem. But before that, I was like, oh, these are just bad headaches. Like, I didn't even totally understand what migraine was. And it was through social media and things like that that I saw other people who had similar symptoms as I did who were like, I'm diagnosed with migraine, that it made me like look into it. So definitely, like, you can't, rely on everything on the internet, but looking into other people's stories, seeing how they relate to yours, and trying Cephaly would be like my first go-to.
Yeah, we're okay if you're a broken record on definitely.
I mean, it took me a year and a half before I tried it, and I'm
Yeah,
like, I wish someone told me that earlier.
I
I don't
know.
know if I would have believed them right away, but just
Yeah, I
just
mean,
keep
like you
trying.
said, 90-day back guarantee. I know,
Yeah,
right? That's such helpful advice. I think that will really resonate with other migraine patients, knowing that there's a community out there, and
absolutely.
you're one of those community champions for migraine out there, posting every day.
Thanks.
Yeah. So I just want to say thank you, Jules. This has been really insightful. I think people are gonna feel really seen and understood after hearing your story.
I'm so glad.
Yeah. I know it's not always easy to talk about these things, but it's so important. And I think it's really going to help someone listening or watching to feel a little less alone. So I just want to encourage everyone who isn't already following Jules to follow her on TikTok at Jules and
Jules
Gemma.
and Gemma, yep.
Yep.
And on Instagram, it's the same.
Perfect. Yeah. If you're curious about some of the tools Jules mentioned today, I'm going to say shoot her a DM.
Absolutely. Yeah, hit me up. I have links all over my profiles. I try to make it as like easy for everyone to find resources as I can.
Yeah, yeah, no, your page is really great. So
Thank you.
thanks again, and thanks everyone for listening to the Migraine Circle podcast. Remember, you're not alone, and there are tools and people like Giuls out there who want to help. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep going. You've got this.